Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Cheyenne and my wife and I are on a journey to pay off debt while also saving for our future goals at the same time. So I'm not sure what I want to name this video, but basically this is going to be my true debt confession. I was featured in the Budget Moms real life budget from January 2022. And yeah, in that video, my name was Lauren and Ty, my wife, was Bree, I believe. I think it was Bree. Um, yeah, so let's talk about it. So if you don't know who the Budget Mom is, she has a YouTube channel, Instagram, website, blog, all the things, and she makes the uh, budget by paycheck workbook that I use in my budget with me's. She started doing real life budgets. I don't remember when, but I started watching them and I was like, oh, I have a lot of debt and I don't really know what to do with it all. So I should submit to be included in a video. So I talked to Ty about it and she was very reluctant about it, but I finally convinced her to do it and I submitted it. I don't remember when. It was sometime in 2021. The Budget Mom, Miko is her name. She got back to me and decided that we would be featured in January of 2022's video. So in January 2022, I got all of I guess I did it in December of 2021. I got all of my information together, all of my debt, and we had to fill out all of the paperwork that she wanted us to fill out so that she could use us in the video. So we decided to change our names. My name was Lauren and Ty was Bree, and Kian, our son, was Caden. So it's so weird to be talking about this because this is one of those things that I was never going to put on YouTube. And I'll explain why in a second. Well, this is going to be a long video, so it won't be a second, but I'll explain why. So I have notes down here. So if you see me looking down, I'm trying to not ramble, but I'm trying to give you guys all of the information. So we said that we didn't want to use our real names because a lot of people in our town know of the Budget Mom, which isn't a lie. But the real reason is I wanted to change our names because I was ashamed of our debt. And the fact that somebody might find it, and Cheyenne, Ty, and Kian, they're not the craziest like out there names, but us three together, people would know that it was us. So I changed our names, and the Budget Mom was fine with that. There are other people that change their names or choose not to include their names anyways in the other videos. So it wasn't like that extreme that we changed our names. But the reason why I chose to be in one of the videos was because I was completely lost in the debt. I will show my debt over here at some point. Um, so just so I can put this at the beginning of the video, my first video that I filmed on YouTube was a debt confession, and you'll see that my real debt and the debt confession are different numbers, and because my debt is completely separate from Ty's debt. So in my first video, the only debt that was mine was my City One card and my student loans. The rest of that debt, and a firm is mine. So all the rest of that is Ty's debt. Well, it's in Ty's name. But again, we see debt as her debt is my debt is her debt, kind of. So just to make a disclaimer there, my first video was not like completely fake numbers. That those are real numbers that we have, but those are only Ty's debts except for the three student loans, city, and Affirm. So back in 2022, 2021, we had a lot of debt. And if you've seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. Thousands and thousands of dollars of debt. And I was ashamed of it all. I completely own what I did, creating all of that debt, but I couldn't face it. So whenever we submitted the video, I think it took me a week to watch it when she finally uploaded it to YouTube because I didn't want to see the comments. I didn't want to this day, I still have not read the comments under that video. Typically the Budget Mom has a lot of supportive people, but I still can't read the comments whenever I can watch it, but I can't read the comments. So I guess this is the time where I will show the debt. So this is a screenshot from the Budget Mom's video because I don't have the exact numbers anymore. And I'll explain why. But Um, this is what I was working with whenever we submitted our numbers to the budget mom. And I will say, I don't know if I can't think back that far, but I can't remember if it was intentional or unintentional, but this wasn't even all the numbers. I forgot to add one credit card and one personal loan to this. And as you can see, so upgrade, we had a credit card and a personal loan. One main is a personal loan, and then I had another upgrade loan. So as you can see, there's a lot of credit cards and there's a lot of personal loans on here. And then student loans, the rest is credit cards and cars. So let's just jump into this. We'll start from the beginning. So when I turned 18, and this kind of ties into my bipolar video that I made. When I was 18, I was very angry. I had a pretty different childhood. Not going to go into all of that. But whenever I turned 18, I immediately went to college. Well, I went to a vocational program. So I still stayed at home, which I kind of didn't have a choice but to stay home because I didn't really want to move out. I couldn't afford to move out at 18. Um, so I stayed with my mom, my brother, and my sister. And as soon as I turned 18, I immediately was told by other people to sign up for credit cards, to afford my books, to afford gas, because I worked when I was 18. I worked at Wendy's and Olive Garden, so I wasn't making crazy money, but I didn't really need crazy money at that time. I did have to buy a new car around 18 or 19, but that was pretty much the only thing that I had to buy that was expensive. I wasn't paying much bills. I was giving my mom rent and things like that and buying groceries and all that by 18, but I didn't need the credit cards that I was signing up for. So by 18, I want to say I had 3 credit cards. And then I started going to the vocational program, which cost me about $12,000. And at that time, I was granted Pell Grants, and I was pulling out loans and I was getting refund checks. So obviously, knowing now, I was pulling out more money than I needed to, but it was money, so I was going to take it. And that was the norm. All of my family was like, oh, that's great. You're getting Pell Grants, you're getting this, spend it on whatever you need to. It wasn't like save it and pay or don't accept it. That was never even a thought because I was told that, it's just kind of money that you get, just do what you want with it. And I never, and I mean this with all of my heart and soul, I never knew that people paid out of pocket for college. Genuinely and truly, I thought that student loans were a thing that everybody had. Like, I genuinely always thought that people pulled out student loans. Like, yeah, I knew there were some like millionaires and billionaires, is what I thought, that they could afford to just buy college or pay for college. But I thought that was like people that went to like Harvard and, schools like that, like Ivy League colleges. I didn't know that people could go to a vocational program and pay out of pocket. Truly and genuinely, I did not know that I even had the option to save my money and pay for college. I just thought student loans was the norm. So I graduated from my LPN program at the age of 19. And by then, I probably had about, I'd say 15,000. No, we'll say 13 or $14,000 of debt, 12,000 of that being student loans. So I started working as an LPN, and I want to say by the time I was 19, I was a nurse making at least $50,000 a year, maybe 40, but I'm pretty sure it was 50. Now, $50,000 when you're 19, still living at home, that is chef's kiss. I could have done a lot with that, but I decided to shop and buy a lot of food because I had binge eating disorder. So I ate everything. A lot of my money went towards food and clothes because I couldn't fit anything because I was gaining weight. And it was just a whole thing, just a whole thing. So by the time I was 19, I had started making payments on my student loans. So because I was making my minimum payment on my credit cards, I was making my minimum payment on my student loans, wasn't paying extra. Never even thought to pay extra or pay it off because the minimum payment is what I was taught. My credit score was about 800 or like 780. It was up there. It wasn't perfect, but it was high. So, with a high credit score and an income, you can apply for more credit cards. So that's what I did. I had Discover cards. I had pretty much everything but American Express. I had a Walmart card. I had an Amazon card. I had Victoria's Secret, Kohl's, all types of cards. And I really got into debt around 2017. So that would have been around 20 years old ish, because my mom had a stroke. And living with her, I became the head of household. So my income was supporting all of us. Christmases landed on me, birthdays landed on me, um, groceries, bills, rent, everything landed on me. So my income was supporting my whole family. So literally gas, Christmas, everything, thousands of dollars were being put on me. So I was using my income and I was opening more credit cards. So Walmart, Amazon, Kohl's, all that went to Christmas, birthdays, just mindless spending. And then I didn't know how to regulate my feelings. I didn't know how to express my feelings. So I went and opened more credit cards and went shopping all the time. That's what I did. So I didn't know what to do with myself. So I bought food, I bought clothes, I bought perfumes, I bought shoes. So now at this point, I have about, by the time I was 20 or 21, I had about 10 to 15 credit cards, all balances, all with balances on them. And with those balances, I never paid them off. Maybe like the little ones, like the ones that had like a $500, $300 credit limit, I would pay those off, but I would go back to using them. It wasn't like I was cutting cards up. I wasn't putting them away, putting them in the freezer. I never even thought of that. So I was just shopping and spending and paying the minimum payment and thought that that was normal. So this went on for a few years. And when I was 21, I moved out of my mom's house and in with Ty. She was my girlfriend at the time, but I moved in with her. So here I am moving out of my mom's house, um, leaving a very toxic environment with my brother, who has special needs and is mentally ill. And finally, I felt like I was free to do whatever I wanted. So I wasn't having to support my family anymore. It was just me and Ty. Kian was not even a thought yet. So I kept shopping. And now my cards were becoming close to their limit. So what do you do when you need to fill this void in your heart, but you don't have the credit limit? So that is when I was introduced to debt consolidation loans. Um, so the first one I took all of my balances, and I think that was around $15,000 in credit cards. Got the loan because my credit was very high because I was making on time payments. It didn't matter how much debt I had. I was making the payments that they wanted, so they were happy. So my credit score stayed in the 700s for most of my 20s. So I got the loan. I think my first loan was One Main, might have been Upgrade, don't remember. And I couldn't even tell you what the interest rate is. You probably could watch the Budget Mom video and look what the interest rate was, but I'm sure it was high. But all of my credit cards were 30%, 20%. I think the lowest credit card APR I had was my Discover card, and that was for college students. And that interest rate was 17%. And that is the lowest percent other than student loans that I had for all of my debt. So I got the loan, paid off the credit cards, and probably within a month or two, I was using them again. Didn't think about stopping. Like I literally got it so that I could shop because I was so uneducated on everything money. Like now, if I were to even think about a personal loan, I would cut the cards up and never even think about them again. But we'll get into that. So let me see, because I feel like I'm rambling. But yeah, I paid them off and started using them again. So to cut the story short, I did this a total of 3 times. I got the upgrade, I think it was upgrade. I got the upgrade loan, paid off all of my credit cards, went to using them again. Got a One Main loan, went and used the cards again. Went and got another upgrade loan, went and used the cards. So now here I am with 15 credit cards ish. Don't remember the exact number. 15 credit cards, 3 personal loans. And the personal loan balances were very high because my credit cards were very high. And just the minimum payments alone for these personal loans was costing me $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month just in debt consolidation loans when I went on to use the credit cards again. So now I have probably my highest credit card, which is the one that I didn't include in the Budget Mom video. Makes no sense. Um, the highest balance I had was about $7,000. So the minimum payment was like over $200. And so all of my minimum payments for credit cards was close to 800, 700 maybe, probably higher. And my personal loan balances or minimum payments were $1,000, maybe 900, but I'm pretty sure it was 1,000. So by the time Ty and I moved in together, she barely had any debt. She did have debt, credit card debt from moving out of her parents' house into the apartment that we lived in, but it wasn't anything major. It was nothing close to mine. So I felt like I was a big burden to her because most of my money went to minimum payments. So more than half of my, not Ty and I's together, more than half of my income monthly went to minimum payments. So once I got to that point, that is when I applied to be in the Budget Mom video. So what has happened after that video? Shortly after that video was filmed, everything kind of went crashing down. So I had already been diagnosed with bipolar 2. I had already been medicated. But right after that video, one of the recommendations she had was to lower our car expenses. We had very expensive cars at the time. Ty still has her car. I have a different car, and my payment is pretty much the same. But I was in a car accident. A person was in the left lane, I was in the right lane, and he made a right turn right in front of me. So my car was totaled. I had a 2019 Chevy Equinox. I loved that car. Every time I see an Equinox on the road, I want to cry. But I again, I didn't raise myself, but a lot of things I taught myself along the way, or YouTube taught me. So I didn't have gap insurance on this expensive ass car. I drove a 2019 Chevy Equinox and did not have gap insurance. I, yeah. So long story short, I now get gap insurance when I get a car. But at that time, I did not. So that whole time, I'm like biting my nails off, thinking like I'm going to have to pay because I didn't know what gap insurance was. Like whenever they asked me about it, when I bought the car, I was like, oh, it's going to make my payment go up. No, no, thank you. Now, but I want to say my car was worth, no, it was the total damages and all that was like 24,000, and luckily they rated my car to be 25. Like I got money back, which yeah. So I ended up using that little bit of money, and then we had to put down $3,000 or $4,000 to get the car I have now, which is a Toyota Highlander. It's older, it's 2014, but anyways, so whenever that car accident happened, everything after that kind of just like exploded. By this point, all the debt was lowering my credit score. So I did not have a good credit score whenever I got my Highlander. So around 2022, 2023, maybe, let's fast forward a little bit, is when my depression really started to kick in all the time. I was depressed 24/7, never was happy, faked the funk for a long time, and spending and eating were my two things that got me through it. And that is when the thoughts that debt was just never gonna go away kicked in. By this point, I had known about the Budget Mom for years and knew how to pay the debt off, but just felt like it was so much that I was never going to get out of it. So at this point, I decided that after talking to family, which I feel like my family just gives me the worst advice sometimes, but I decided that bankruptcy was my only option to get out of this debt. At this point, I had six-figure debt by myself, and I knew student loans weren't going anywhere because unless you go meet the Lord, or become permanently disabled, those student loans are not going anywhere. They will always be there. So I had decided to contact a lawyer who had helped a different family member of mine go through their bankruptcy process. And I ended up, I want to say I had like fifty or $60,000 in credit cards, personal loans, and hospital bills that I included in this bankruptcy. Now, don't turn the video off thinking that this bankruptcy thing happened, because it didn't. Just a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, I want you to watch this whole video. So, the bankruptcy thing, no. But I did go through the whole process, kind of, sort of. I went through all of the paperwork, I signed his contract. And if you're wondering, I was going to go with Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13. But I paid him $1,800, which, hearing now, that was very high and that should have been a red flag, but me not knowing anything, I went with it. So I ended up meeting him in October of 2022. Now, mind you, I was in the Budget Moms video in January of 2022. So 2022 is when I was making the payments and the interest was just jumping up and I just couldn't get out of it. I was putting groceries on credit cards because I was so deep in debt that all of my money was going towards the minimum payments. So this lawyer, which isn't well, it is crazy, but I guess a lot of bankruptcy lawyers tell you to do this, but he told me to stop making all minimum payments on my debt. All minimum payments, cut it out. Whatever is in there, whatever is in your bankruptcy, stop making payments on them. So the only things I was keeping was my car and my phone and the Citibank card, because the balance was like $200. So I was just going to pay that off and just let it be. So around October of 2022, I stopped making payments on everything. So now I have all of this money that I'm not putting towards minimum payments. I did save some of it, but a lot of it I kept shopping because I didn't realize that the shopping addiction was as bad as it was. So yeah, and by this point, Kian's like 2 or 3, so I wasn't just spending money on myself. I was buying him everything that he could. He was 2, so, or 3. I was buying unnecessary stuff for him. I was just shopping. So I was saving more than I was able to before, but I wasn't doing what I should have done. So back to stopping the minimum payments. I regret that more than anything. I felt like the bankruptcy thing was going to work, so I thought I would do whatever he wanted me to do. So I want to say in November and December is when the bill collectors and stuff started calling, and all I had to do was tell them that I was filing for bankruptcy, and they stopped calling because they were told to contact my lawyer with any questions or whatever they had. So because all of my bills were paid on time before that, I wasn't dealing with bill collectors other than like my hospital bills. The credit cards and stuff never called me because I was on time. I was just struggling to make the payments. So my credit was terrible. It still is terrible, because by this point it's now 2023. So this is around, this was just a year ago. My credit jacked, like, because my payment history is terrible because I stopped making payments on all of this. So everything got charged off. Let's just wrap this up. Everything got charged off my credit. So the debt is still out there. It's just not on my credit report, but my credit is terrible because my payment history and because I have charge-offs. So long story short, with this lawyer, I signed his contract in October of 2022, and it is now March of 2024, and I've heard from him 3 times. So he took the money and basically ran. So bankruptcy is not happening. But now here we are in March of 2024. That debt is not going away. It's still there. Just because it's charged off doesn't mean they still don't want their money. So I started YouTube in April of 2023. And that was during the time where I thought the bankruptcy thing was still happening. So I didn't intentionally lie to everyone on my channel. I genuinely thought that the debt was going to be gone and that was the debt that we were trying to tackle. I don't remember how much it was in that video, but Ty's debt is what I thought we were dealing with. Basically, I decided that bankruptcy is not for me. I need to handle my debt myself. I have to get it together. I have to pay all of this off, and that's just what it is. I created it. I have to solve it, which I'm not bashing anybody for filing bankruptcy, but I think that was my sign that I made this mess. I got to lay in it and I got to clean it up. So now here we are in 2024, and I have to figure out how to make my income work for saving, paying off Ty's debt, paying off my debt, and just living. So basically, I'm trying to look at my notes. But anytime Ty and I get a lump sum of money, we will be saving some and we will be putting it towards our active debt and putting it towards the charge offs. I can't really fit it into my budget right now because things have changed a lot with like our income. And I know there's one person that comments on every video I make talking about our income. We do make good money, but we have a lot of debt and our bills are high. So we can't really tackle, like pay off all 10 charge offs at one time. Our income looks great on paper, but we have a lot of bills. We have a lot of subscriptions that we're trying to weed through. We have a lot of stuff. So we're going to figure this out one day at a time and just figure out how to get all of this gone. But yeah, this video is getting super long, but I wanted to put this out there because everybody always wonders. I've seen on other Budget Mom real life videos that people always want to update. Well, this is the update on Lauren, Bree, and Caden. Yeah, we are doing great, but my credit score is not doing great. My debt is still there. I can't get rid of it, and I'm not going to get rid of it until I pay it off. But basically, what I'm going to do is start negotiating with these companies that have the debt because obviously they have been sold to debt collectors, and I'm just going to negotiate prices. And like, say I owe $1,000 on a credit card, I'm going to be like, listen, I have $400. Will you take it to get it off my credit and to close the account? Will you take 400, 500, 600? What will you take to get this gone? So anytime we get lump sums of money or we save an amount to call a collector, that's what I'm going to do. That is the plan. That is what I'm going to do. I've even made a chart to like a spreadsheet kind of thing with the charge offs that I can find because there are some out there that I can't even find. I've tried to figure out where they were sold to and I have no idea where they're at. So I'm just dealing with the ones that I can find. I did almost sign up for debt freedom relief or whatever it's called, but they basically are doing what I'm talking about doing, but they're charging a fee for it when I can do it for free myself. So I would rather I would rather file bankruptcy than deal with a debt relief company. But yeah, I will be reading all the comments to this video. I know there will be some good, some bad, but if you have any questions, leave them down below. I will probably do a live Q&A soon for this video. So if you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get to them at some point. Okay, but that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please be nice. This was really hard to do. Really hard to do. It was one of those things that in the YouTube world, I was going to take it to my grave. Like I was never going to upload this video, but I want to be transparent. I'm tired of hiding. And this is my debt, this is my story, and there's nothing I can do about it but deal with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one at some point. Don't know what that's going to be. I may do a cash stuffing tomorrow. It's going to be tiny because it's just my wallet. But you may see me tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoyed this again, if I can say that anymore. I'll see you soon. Bye.